Ladies and gentlemen, will you do me a favor? A big round of applause for Doug Mellard.
Hey. It's because I'm short. Thanks, by the way, for coming out during the holidays, everybody. It's Ford Truck Month, and you guys showed up. That says a lot about your character. It only comes around 12 times a year, so that's exciting. Guys, I love to fly, mostly because I love to pick on people. I like to mess with them. I like to get in their heads. Here's one thing you guys can all use. Try this. Next flight you're on, talk to your neighbor, have a great conversation, be nice. 3 to 5 minutes in, politely cut them off and say, look, I really enjoyed this conversation, but I have a lot of important work to do. And then that's when you pull out a crayon. And you gotta hold it overhanded with a furrowed brow and just write the word apple over and over again for the entire 3.5 hour duration of the flight. Maybe every once in a while just look up all frustrated like, my boss is gonna kill me. Deadlines. You get it. Best friends for life. I was on a flight not too long ago, and there was a guy that actually passed out on the plane, and people were freaking out. There was panic in the air, and at one point, just like in the movies, they asked over the overhead, hey, is there anyone on the plane? Is there a doctor on this flight? And I'd had a couple drinks. I quickly raised my hand. I run down the aisle. They're excited to have me, and I did what any doctor would do in that situation. I lifted up his shirt and I blew on his belly so hard. I believe the medical term is a Zerbert or a raspberry, depending on where you grew up. I saved a life. It feels good. I'm a hero. I'm not always a hero on flights. I was on a flight where this woman was freaking out the entire time because there was a lot of turbulence. And she's so scared, and at one point she asked me if I would hold her hand. And I did, and it's not because I'm a gentleman, it's just that's how I get off, you know what I mean? You guys handhold? It's hot. So I'm holding this broad's hand, right? And we're having a good time, but it's still so turbulent, and so finally, I gotta say something to this poor woman to calm her down. So I think of this thing that my mom used to say to me to calm me down, which was, let go, let God, which means put all your troubles into God's hands and everything will be okay. But again, had a couple drinks that flight. So instead, at the most turbulent moment, I squeezed her hand and I whispered in her ear, let God go. Kind of went the other way on that one. Not good. She was terrified. Speaking of terror, I hate weddings. Weddings are the worst. It's the same thing every time. Last wedding I was at, there was a wedding DJ that pulled out all the wedding DJ moves, all so corny. He kicked off the dance floor by saying, I've heard this a million times, hey, right, we're going to kick off the dance floor. Are there any couples out there that have been married for 50 years or more? Get on out there. And then one couple slowly sauntered out there, and everybody's really bummed out because it's it's their last dance, and yeah, it was so sad. It's why are you bumming us out? But then you're it's bookends. It's the beginning and end of a marriage, And then he's 40 years or more, 30, 20, 10, 5, any newlyweds? And more people go out there. And then he's all right, are there any single people out there? And then they get on the dance floor, the single people, and they're actually enjoying themselves, dancing because, their spirits haven't been crushed yet. And yeah, now it's bumping, it's great. And then it took this weird turn where he's just all right, is there anybody out there who's currently going through a terrible divorce? there and shake that thing. Is there anybody out there whose soon-to-be ex-wife just got knocked up by the neighbor? Let's see what you got. Is there anybody out there whose Kia Sorento just got repossessed? Shake your moneymaker. And then he just cried for like 20 minutes. And then we heard a gunshot over the microphone. A lot of feedback, very rude. Just like any wedding you've ever been to. You guys know what I'm talking about. There is one thing that I love about weddings, and that's the part where they open up the microphone to anyone there after an open bar. That's awesome. Here's what I suggest you all do. Next time that happens, grab the mic, introduce yourself, and just say, look, I've known the bride and groom since day one. I'd like to tell you the real story of how they met. Now you got them on the hook, they're excited, and then that's when you slowly and painfully unravel the entire plot of the hit 1995 film Con Air, starring Nicolas Cage. Just see how far you can get. It's awesome. I'll give you a hint, not far. My friend Mitch's mom just hates me. Guys, before I move on, I gotta address something in my personal life. I just want to have the crowd weigh in real quick. It's just kind of weighing on me. So the other day, my girlfriend and I are in the car, and that wasn't the funny part. And she points out the window at this old man, and she goes, "Oh, look at that cute little old man." And do you guys think she's sleeping with that guy? You know what? I'm not gonna let it bother me. I'm just gonna keep being silly. I was on a flight. We just got my dog certified to be an emotional support animal because you can just lie about that stuff now. It's awesome. And so we were flying with my dog, and this lady kept trying to pet her. She's adorable. I get it. And I just leaned over and I said, "Ma'am, I wouldn't do that if I were you. She's the air marshal." And the lady laughed, and then reached to pet her again. And I was like, "Lady, what did I just say?" I was like, "Have you seen Air Bud? It's not like that at all. She has a gun and no will to live. Look at her." My dog just panting like an idiot. I hate musicals. I would get more into musicals if they had at least one guy running around screaming, "What the hell is going on? Seriously, what is happening right now? Why is everybody singing? Why are there animated birds? This doesn't make any sense. Frank, I've known you for 17 years. You just did 18 backflips. How?" I'd buy in. Then La La Land would have won, I had a guy stop me on the street the other day. He was like, "Hey, man, I'm just visiting L.A. Do you know where the Children's Hospital is?" And I was like, "I sure do, but you know what? I would check out a few places first." I mean, if I were visiting, it's just gonna bum you out, maybe hit it on the way out, Every once in a while, my girlfriend and I like to spice things up in the bedroom by having sex. You guys do that? Little tip for you lovebirds out there. You're welcome. My girlfriend and I were passing out the other night, and as soon as I'm good. And as soon as she passed out, I drew a penis on my own forehead. You guys try it, it's really fun. And then I passed out, and then we wake up in the morning, and she's like, oh God. And I was like, what? And she's like, there's a penis on your forehead. And I was like, first of all, language. Second of all, why would you do that? And she's like, what? She's so good. It was first thing in the morning. She's like, what? I stayed committed. She made me breakfast in bed. And now she just thinks there's a ghost in our apartment that has the dumbest sense of humor ever. Real quick, for this next joke, I need somebody in the audience. Could I pick on you for just a second? Just like 2 lines I need from you. Is that okay? Just 2 lines. So you're going to say, my cat just died. And then I'm going to say something. And then you say, yeah, it's really sad. And then that's it. And then I take it from there. Is that cool? So you know your lines? So you say,
my cat just died.
Oh, that's so sad. I can't imagine.
Yeah, it really is.
Are you still talking about your cat? I just told you I can't conceptualize fantasy. You're hung up on a dead animal? You know what? You shut up. I told you. Give it up for her. She's awesome. Thank you. That was great, what we just did there. Live theater. Quick public service announcement to any gentleman here. A lot of guys have trouble peeing at urinals, and I get it because I do too, but here's the thing. If I'm peeing next to you, if you could just make eye contact directly with me, maybe squeeze my hand. That won't hurt. Say some encouraging words. I think it's weird that heaven has a gate. That's so strange to me. Like, who are they keeping out, right? Can you imagine for a moment that you're Mexican? You've lived a great life, and then you finally make it up to the promised land, and you're like, you gotta be kidding me. There's a wall. I think it's weird that we can't tickle ourselves, but we can masturbate. Yeah, think about that for just a second. That's like the most tickling a human can do. I believe the scientific term is super tickling. It's like God doesn't want us to laugh. He only wants us to come, right? It's weird. I'll leave you guys with this. We just lost my grandfather to autoerotic asphyxiation. No, don't worry. Don't get all bummed out. Yeah, he didn't die from it. He just enjoys it so much, he never has time for us anymore. You know what I mean? You guys have been awesome. Give it up for Matt and enjoy the rest of the show. Kath is amazing. Have a good night.